So even if we have all these tools, you have to make the move to stay open to all these little form of arts that you found in nature, in the streets, in when you are walking in the forest. Everywhere there is forms of art and forms of language. In every space there is a language, actually.
You're listening to the Speaking Tongues podcast. I'm your host, El Charisse. Each week, I sit down to a conversation with multilinguals where we discuss and celebrate language, life, and culture through our own perspectives. Welcome back to another episode of Speaking Tongues. I am your host, El Charisse, and today I'm so thrilled to welcome my guest, French singer-songwriter Mike Ibrahim. Mike Ibrahim's songs evoke the intimate and the political. They very often offer the possibility of scenarios to unravel and enigmas to solve. Author, composer, performer, director, poet, photographer, and founder of the label Les Marion Dufresne, he occasionally writes for others, whether for the legendary Julian Clerc or Johnny Hallyday, or for the indie talents like David Walters. Mike Ibrahim is back this year with La Ballade de Salvatore Lupo, an LP haunted by ghosts and debris of memory that floated within him like a continent of plastic drifting in the Pacific. Very poetic. I love that description. The first single, Dans quel état, is out now, and I could not be happier to have this conversation with you today, Mike. How are you?
Hello, thank you. I'm very good. I'm very happy to be with you, and thank you for having me on the show. It's so nice.
It's my pleasure. I want my audience to know that I've been a fan of your music and your work for a very long time. So this is a big day for me.
I'm blushing.
I like to start each episode with the same question, and that is, what is your first language and which languages have you learned to speak?
So my first language is French. And the language I learned to speak is Creole, Martinican Creole. But to be fair, I cannot say that I really learned it because I arrived in Martinique when I was 2 years old. So it's most like a second language, even if my parents don't speak Creole. But you hear it at school, when you're outside playing football on the beach with your friends, when you're doing music, when you're on your bicycle and old people are yelling at you because you almost run on their feet. So yeah, it's another language. It's another part of me, but I don't have the feeling that I learned it. I spoke it a little bit with my big brother because we were living together with my mother, and I also spoke it at home when I didn't want my mother to understand what I was saying to my brother. But yeah. Otherwise, my mother is really a French-speaking woman. So she arrived in her 30s in Martinique. But at the beginning, I could speak and she didn't understand.
That's such a unique experience because I feel like a lot of people, the Creole is the language that they encounter at home. And then the French or the whatever the colonial language is what they hear in school and what they hear outside. So that's such a unique linguistic relationship that you have with Creole.
Yeah, it's true. And I really have the feeling that I chose this language also because when I grew up, I decided to study Creole and study the writers and the authors and how this language was built. So yes, I really developed a passion for languages. And that's why I'm so happy to be here today. and Creole is also in Martinique the language of songs, of culture, music. There is a very famous band in Martinique called Cassav, which is known all over the world, but it's composed of Martinican members and also people from Guadeloupe, the sister island. So Creole is really in the music, in the food, and in the parties, and in the everyday life. If you go to the grocery store, you can speak Creole. But at school, you didn't really have the right to speak Creole. I mean,
Mm,
you could speak while playing in the yard, but if you are in the classroom, you were not allowed to speak Creole.
really?
Yeah, yeah, it was a. I mean, in the 80s, I was a kid in the 80s.
Me
It was
too.
a. All right. It was not yet seen as a real language. Actually,
Mm,
it came a little bit later in the 90s. But at the beginning, people were very strict about separating the French for official language and the main beautiful
yeah,
language. And Creole was considered as the language of the country, the language of maybe fishermen or poor people, or
yeah. The streets.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
But now it has changed, and people in Martinique, in the West Indies, they have embraced Creole and hold the culture,
Hmm.
and so now it's really different.
Yeah. What does that dynamic look like for you now? Either if you've been back to Martinique, maybe to visit or spend some time, or in Paris, how do those two languages exist in your world right now?
Well, the funny thing is, I think a lot of people will relate to that. But every time I'm with people from the West Indies, from the Caribbean, my accent immediately comes back to the surface.
Hmm.
In Paris, I don't speak a lot Creole because I don't have so much friends from Martinique in Paris.
Hmm.
I have friends from very different cultures, but I mean, I'm not a real Martinican, which means I was not really born there, so I don't have a big family with lots of cousins from Martinique, for example.
Hmm.
So I have friends, they have lots of cousins, aunts, uncles. So even when they are in Paris, they can speak Creole most frequently
Hmm.
because they have family meeting, but it's not my case. So when I see my Martinican friends, I can speak Creole. But otherwise, it's really an inner language. It's something that I have inside. And sometimes I speak Creole in my head, or when I'm angry, or when I want to swear. I swear in my head in
In
Creole. It
Creole.
happens. Yes, yes, it happens when I'm really angry, which is pretty rare. But yeah, and it's really a language that stays in me like a beautiful starry sky,
Mm,
and it's really part of my imagery, imagination. And I use it when I write songs. If I have to collaborate with some Caribbean artists, maybe this is when I will really speak and write Creole the
hmm.
most.
Yeah, that's that's really beautiful. And you are an artist, so I think you know how to feel where the language is impacting you and where it's impacting your life and how it shows up in your work.
Yeah, yeah, but it's really like it's like a world living inside of you.
Mm,
I mean, you don't have to speak a language. Sometimes, I mean, I of course I speak it and I'm fluent in Creole, so I don't have any problem. If I see my friend, I can speak. But there is also this life inside of you, which is really important, and that nourish you and your mind and your ideas. And for me, it's a language of my childhood also. So it's a way to connect with my childhood. This language, this specific language, Creole, helps me to reconnect with my younger self.
oh, that's so beautiful. What do you want to say to your younger self in Creole?
it's music. It's not something necessarily very meaningful, but it's just the music of the language, the sound of the language, and the sound of the people that were speaking Creole in my youth,
Mm-hmm.
and people, very important people in my life, that they helped me to grow as an artist. I'm thinking about my godmother, for example, who is a beautiful woman, very charismatic. She was a teacher, so she showed me my first books, and she was speaking Creole with her kids and her husband. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was in her house. I was spending afternoon in her garden, and I was hearing Creole in the street, and then I was hearing her speaking Creole with her family.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of sounds, the sound of the language, the music of the language, it kind of, yes, reconnect me with this beautiful time. And it was, yes, a kind of a golden youth.
Yeah. Talk to me about some of the books that you mentioned, you were discovering either through your godmother or through your studies in school. Um, Caribbean literature, for me, is like so important, and I feel like we don't talk enough about Caribbean literature, and I don't think that
For sure.
yeah, it's not as celebrated as it needs to be. But when we talked earlier, you mentioned a number of French Caribbean authors that have influenced you, inspired you. You mentioned Edouard Glissant, and
Yes.
I'd love to know how some of the writing and some of this artistic expression how influenced you, your work, your life, and your art.
Yeah, so first of all, I think that if people want to discover the Caribbean literature, you should go to Simon Schwarzbart. Uh, you should go to Édouard Glissant. You should go to Patrick Chamoiseau, um, Gisèle Pinault. Yes, Raphaël Confiant. Uh, these are the one that you should definitely read.
Mm-hmm.
Um uh, yes, I love Edouard Glissant. He's one of my mentors. I really love his writing, his poetry, and the way he sees the world. Unfortunately, he passed away, but he left us like a canvas to read the world.
Mm.
And yes, this idea of did you say in English?
I
It's
said
yeah,
rhizomatic.
rhizomatic.
But in French, how do you say it in French?
L'identité rhizome.
Rhizome.
So it's a rhizome. A rhizome is like a ginger, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the idea that your identity is not a single big root that will kill the other plants around because it's too big.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see where I'm looking at, this idea of rhizomatic identity is that there is no center and you are the roots all over the place. I mean, you can be the roots that is on the border of the system. You are not necessarily in the center of the system,
Mm-hmm.
but there is no roots that is more important than the other one, and the roots are intertwined and they don't kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
They communicate and they make the system stronger. And yes, and so that's the idea of identity, something moving. It's something that is always evolving,
Mm-hmm.
and you can have a relationship with the other and be nourished by the other one,
Mm-hmm.
and while not losing yourself, because people are always scared to lose themselves, or they say, oh, but if cultures are like this, there will be no culture anymore. It's not true. It's not like this, and this fact is a fact since the beginning of humanity, actually. So you're always building on something, and something new happens, and the beauty of it is in this beautiful creative chaos, you cannot foresee
Mm,
what is going to happen.
mhm.
So you don't know what the culture of tomorrow will be. You don't know what your own culture will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Each time you bump into someone, you change. And
Mhm.
I think it's a beautiful idea. I like it.
It's important to remember that too, because the world is getting so much smaller, and we're all
Yeah.
going to be more connected to people who don't share our cultural identity and our cultural backgrounds.
Yeah, and yeah. And what you say about the world being smaller, it's in the same time, it's beautiful because we can reach out. Like today, you are in the United States, I'm in Paris. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But in the same times, it can be an illusion because it doesn't mean that even if you can reach people so quickly, it doesn't mean that you are really seeing people for who they are.
Hmm.
So, I mean, through the social media and everything, it's a very nice tool, but there are people, I don't know, in Argentina, in the mountains of Argentina, they are riding horse and making poetry,
Hmm.
and they are making a poetry contests, and it's a tradition, and maybe nobody knows about this,
Yeah.
and they are in their own ecosystem, but in the same time with their poetry they are connected to the world,
Hmm.
and they are in this rhizomatic identity.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that we need to stay open to all that we didn't see yet. Sometimes in the Western world, with the computers, the phones, and everything, sometimes it looks like we have seen all of it, and we've seen all the world because we can see, you can connect to a webcam, I don't know, in Polynesia or so, but it can also be an illusion. So even if we have all these tools, we really you have to make the move to stay open to all these little form of arts
Hmm.
that you found in nature, in the streets, in when you are walking in the forest, or I don't know, everywhere there is forms of art and forms of language.
Yeah.
In every space there is a language actually.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
No, but it's the idea that I have the intuition that language is here and is living, is like a sea into the space, and is here before the one who's speaking the language. I love to walk in nature and in the mountain, for example. And when I walk in the mountain, I see language,
Mm.
but there is no sound. But I know it can sound very. People will say, "Who's this guy? Is high." I'm not. So bear with me. No, but you see, because you feel, you have the intuition of a presence of people that were there before you and that will come after you.
Hmm.
And I think this is what is language. It's connecting us through time, between us,
Hmm.
and through space also.
Yeah.
So it's almost quantum physics, actually. So it's really, you can be here, but you are also feeling the space, and it's something very, I feel it in my gut. It's very difficult to explain,
Hmm.
and in English, which is not my first language, as you all now see. But yeah. So I like this idea. The relationship between language and space, it's really important. And to come back to your previous question about Creole, as I told you, the language, the sound of the language, it brings me back to this space and this time of my youth.
Hmm.
That's a very simple example.
When you have that feeling of being able to connect language with nature, or, you know, connect language in that way as a writer, how do you feel that through your work, or how do you channel that through your work?
It's really, for me, every form of creation, it's meditation. you have to stay open and available to what is coming to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the source in any way. It's not coming from you towards the outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's flowing. It's a flow, and so yes, I really feel in a meditative state
Mm-hmm.
when I'm writing or composing. So it's very difficult to, and I think actually it's pretty boring to explain because no, but it's true. To be honest, it's just someone walking or sitting, looking at a landscape, or or looking at some people in because cities are also very inspiring. You can sit in a cafe and look outside the window, and boom, you have thousands and thousands of stories and
Mm-hmm.
thousands of souls and hearts and lots of different paths crossing each other. So to answer your question, is just you have to find enough empty space inside of you, enough calm
Mm-hmm.
to welcome all these vibrations and ideas. And yeah,
Yeah.
and then after, yeah, but and if I want to be a little bit more specific about my writing process, so the framework is what I've just said. And otherwise, I sometimes I have just a word in my head or a sentence. Or for example, my next single, L'amour est une langue étrangère, I really had this sentence, L'amour est une langue étrangère, love is a foreign language. And I was very excited about this sentence. I was like, wow, this is it. This is exactly what love can be sometimes. So I had it in my head for, I don't know if it days or weeks, but just having this, playing with this sentence and thinking about it. And then, yeah, and one day you sit and you write.
Mm. Just like that.
Yes, just like that, because you made all the work before in your head. You played with the words and you try to, because it's always question when you have sentences like this or ideas popping into your head. It's always something of the world. It's asking a question to you. So the I think the thing is not trying to answer the question.
Huh.
It's more trying to make questions with this question, make other questions. And that's really how I see books and movies and songs. There are questions. They are not to deliver messages, or they are not
Mm-hmm.
to make a point, and they are not to give a lesson. And
Mm-hmm.
no, it's I don't subscribe at all to to these messages. No, I think songs are questions. And so you ask these questions, and so when people listen to it or read the book, and they also ask themselves the same questions that you propose, that you offer to them, and
Yeah.
and they find their own answer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always like that. So and I think you have to be very humble in
Mm.
your artistic path,
Mm-hmm.
journey. And I'm always scared to be, I don't want to be like a professor, saying things to people, like you should think like this, or this is bad, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's more complicated than that.
So tell me about when you are writing songs for other people. Um, you have your framework and you have your way of expressing yourself. I think I'm just curious about this personally because I don't know the first thing about writing a song for someone else. But
Mm.
what does that process take for you to do that? What kind of mental space or sensibility do you have to write a song or an album of songs for other people?
Well, it's almost easier than writing for myself.
Okay.
because I don't have my own internal personal things. They are not in the way.
Right.
So I just have to have a coffee with the person I'm writing for and try to be in her or his skin and try to be really listen carefully to what she wants to say or he wants to say. And yeah, so it's really not about me. And in the beginning, I remember the first songs I wrote for other big artists. I was a little bit like, okay, they will see how talented I am. I'm going to put my style in the. And I quickly changed my mindset. And it's almost like you write a screenplay, and it's not your job to say the word. It's the actor's job. So maybe the actor will say it a way that you didn't even
Think about, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so now I'm very laid back, and I'm what do you want to say? Okay, I make lots of proposition. So of course there is certain tips and tricks that I can pull off my sleeve and say, okay, this maybe we should try this or that. But it's always very nice and sweet and fun to discover someone else and help someone to say something. It's really rewarding. Uh,
Yeah.
because yes, oh Mike, I love the song you wrote. It's really what I wanted to say, and I would have never found the words. Or it's very yes, and you always feel grateful when someone tells you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me, okay, you said chanson française has a structure, like a traditional.
Yes, there is a structure, but I mean, it's the same structure than a folk song. Or there is not a lot of there is not a difference between a Beatles song or I don't know Al Green song or and then in terms of structure. But what's changed is the way the approach and the importance of lyrics, I
Mm-hmm.
think, because all of my English or American friends, they are mostly into the melody first and writing the song, and they can arrange and produce a whole song, and the lyrics can be the very last thing they write.
Mm-hmm.
And but I don't work like that at all. And no, but because it's too, I have to be present behind every word, and so I put as much energy in the producing than
Mm-hmm.
in the writing.
Yeah.
In France, there is a tradition of great writers. So you have, I don't know, Brassens, Brel. Actually, he was not French, but Brel, he was from Belgium. All these old, from the beginning of the 20th century. And it was really like almost the tradition of the middle-aged singer who will sing the adventures of the kings and everything. So you have all this whole tradition in France, in Europe, and I think there is less weight of this kind in the United States. But I'm also very the African tradition, uh,
Yeah.
the transmission, the oral transmission, the fact that every griot, I don't know the word in English for
It's the
griot.
same.
Okay. In village, he was carrying all the history of the village, but
Right.
also the story of every member of the village. And so, yeah, I try to mix everything in my work. But yeah, I would say I'm a lyrics first guy.
So talking about structure of songwriting, when we spoke last time, you told me how there are some artists who want to fit into a more English language structure of their songs or singing. Um, and they're singing in French, but they want to kind of mimic that style of, I guess, US or British, maybe
Yeah,
Australian
yeah,
singers. What kind of challenge does that pose for you as a writer when you're writing in French, but
yeah.
there's a different structure that,
It
uh,
can be a big problem.
okay.
But so it starts from the dominance of Western English culture in the world. Because if you are from Malaysia, or if you are from I don't know, Cameroon, or if you are from the West Indies, uh, you had heard a song in English, the Beatles, Prince, Madonna, you name it. So
Mhm.
we all grew up with these songs. And maybe people in the States, they don't realize this because they speak about us as if we were, the last room at the end of the corridor on the
Oh.
right. Oh, in Europe, but, but there are lots of different countries in Europe
Hmm.
first, and but so we have, each country has its own culture and its own songs and its own stars and singers and everything. But we also grew up with the big global stars that you guys gave us, and not only you, because there is one big star that I grew up with, and he was not from the United States. He was from not not a little, but an island,
Hmm.
Jamaica. His name is Bob
Bob
Marley.
Marley.
Yeah,
Yes.
and for example, I learned English with Bob Marley. So when you grew up with all, it's printed, it's embedded in your head, the sound of English, the sound of the way the melody falls, the word falls into the melody. And so if you want to write songs, what happens? When you take your guitar, you start to sing, and the first thing that comes to your mind is something in English. But the
Hmm.
problem is that you are not an English speaking person.
Hmm.
So you find yourself singing like I ain't bad and bad and bad, like really making sounds. We call that yaourt in French, yogurt,
Yaourt. Hmm.
yogurt in English,
Hmm.
and it's just sound that you make to be as close as possible to English sounding,
Hmm.
but you're not. So, or maybe you will, find just a word, or you repeat the same word together, together, because it's the only one you know.
Right.
And yeah, and so the problem is that when people they want to write, for example, French lyrics on this kind of songs. So
Hmm.
they send you the song, and you hear, I was together, I wanna stay to be. And so you're like, okay, but French doesn't sound like this. So it's very difficult because it's not the same strong accent. It's not in the same at the same spot
Hmm.
in the words.
Yeah.
It's not, and there is nothing to translate. So you really have to write something, but trying to keep the dynamic and the energy of the yaourt.
Yeah.
But in the same time, you have to write something that is meaningful and that is beautiful and that will also honor French,
Yeah.
because we are French.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, it's always putting you in situation very funny, because I won't tell you who is it,
Okay.
because he's
We
famous.
we don't want to get in trouble.
No, but I have this famous artist. He came to me and he said, "Okay, I have this song." So the chorus was something like, "I wanna love, 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 love." I, whatever, but he was saying love, love, love in his chorus,
Hmm.
because that's what he felt in the moment. So I tried to write proper lyrics for this song,
Mm-hmm.
and he was never happy.
Hmm.
So I said, yeah, but okay, so I want to keep the sound. You see when I sing it like with the yaourt, and it's love, love. It sounds good. I want to keep these feelings. I was like, but why don't you say, for example, elle se love dans tes bras, par exemple, which means she comes into your arms because there is a verb in French. Le
Mm-hmm.
verbe it's se lever.
Se lever.
Yes, it means that you if there is a shape like this,
Mm-hmm.
you go like this into the shape, like a
Oh,
snake,
yeah.
or like a cat with his mother, or a child with his parent.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't in the arm of someone, for
Yeah.
example.
Okay.
But it's not related to love in any way.
Mm.
It's a proper word, and so it's not a borrowed word from English.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you write it the same way and say it the same way, but
Okay.
it really means something. So I say to this person, you can,
You're gonna tell me afterward who it is, but we're not gonna say it.
but you know who is it, I think. Uh, but whatever.
Okay.
So I said to it, why don't you say elle se love dans tes bras, par
Mm-hmm.
exemple. So you can keep exactly the same words,
Yeah.
but this guy he didn't knew that love was a French verb. So he looked at me and he said, yeah, but Mike, I don't want to speak English. I told you I want to speak French. So I was I was a little bit desperate, and I said no, but it's French. So se lever, it's French. It's a French word.
Mm-hmm.
It's not English at all. And he was like, no, I mean no, but no, it comes from English. It comes from to love. I said no, it's two different stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
two different words. And so he didn't believe me, and he
Mm-hmm.
had to make calls to people,
No.
yes, to ask them, because we did, I don't know, because we could have checked in the dictionary, or
Yeah.
and I was like, come on, mate, man, I made I studied literature at the university. I have my degrees, I know what I'm talking about. And it was so funny. And yeah, so it's a very good example of sometimes it can be very difficult. You can adapt, for example, English songs in French. So, for example, someone, you are the sunshine of my life. Someone said, tu es le soleil de ma vie.
Oh,
So,
that works so
yeah,
well.
yeah. So it can't work sometimes, but it's not always the case. So you have to be
Mm,
careful, and you really
yeah.
have to sweat on it.
I want to talk about your music.
Yeah.
Your music, your lyrics are often romantic, political, social. You're very much a social observer and artist. Tell me about how you bring these themes together and what you want people to take away from your music when they're listening to your songs.
My idea is to provoke a collision between intimacy and the political stuff,
Okay.
because I think that personal things, relationships, a love relationship, friendship, there is lots of politics inside of it. And the other way around is true also. There is the relationship you have with the society, with your country, with the administration, with people in the street. There is also something very intimate and personal in the way you see society,
Mm,
especially I think coming from a minority and not being part of the dominant white male stuff. So I'm a man, but I'm a black man in Europe. So it means that you necessarily see the society from a certain angle.
Mm.
So I try to put all these things in my songs, but as I told you, just asking questions and trying to portray situations or people. I don't have any wish about what you should grab from this. I mean, it's really your business. It's your personal matter. It's intimacy, in fact, the way that you receive my song. And I don't like to be lectured by someone about his songs or let me, if I go to a show and I see a painting, I don't need the painter to be next to me and saying to me, hey, this is what I meant. And no, let me give it. You as a viewer or as a listener, you give the meaning to the work. This is how I see it.
Yeah.
As far as what I want to put inside the song, this is really my obsession. Since these songs, this first song that came on my first album that I did for Universal, it was called Amoureux de mon ami. I don't know if you know this song.
What?
It,
Of course I know that song.
and this song, I was talking about what was happening with Obama in the United States. So it was from the point of view of a French guy. He was saying that he was in love with an American friend, but actually it was France talking to the United States. It was this kind of two level of meaning and lecture. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Your first album had a few political themes. You had a few
Yeah.
songs. I don't know, people don't know how old we are, but talking about the Bush administration and Obama, and those were like the years that there were a lot of things changing.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, for me at that point, my French was, I don't want to say non-existent, but yeah, let's not pretend it was non-existent at that point when I was listening to your album. But saying this to say that even as a not being fluent in French, I feel like those themes came across languages. I feel like I would have understood it, or anyone would have understood better being completely fluent in French. But even without having that fluency there, I feel like you were able to bring that out in the music. And that's what I take from it. Whether or not you intended to do that or not, but I feel like it definitely transcended the language because the feeling was there.
That's great.
And
That's a
that,
great compliment.
yeah,
Thank you.
and I think it's really powerful to be able to do that and to be able to connect in that way.
Yeah, I was also trying to reconnect with my American roots,
Mm.
speaking about the United States. It's a lot about the United States in this album.
So from that period of time with your debut and your albums after that, how do you feel like your songwriting has evolved? How do you feel like your musicality has evolved?
I'm really happy because we are talking a lot about songwriting, actually. It's nice. Um Thank you for that. It's really a gift. I love to talk about songs. I think that I try to strip down things and not to overproduce my song, which is always a danger, a menace when you are beginning and you want to show up. And but now I'm really into guitars and I like all the neo folk vibe and movement. People like Sufjan Stevens, Bon Iver, Angelo De Augustine, Heist. So all these people, they are really the music that I love the most. I mean, as a songwriter, because yeah, it's not the same as a listener and as a songwriter. There are things that I listen to that I love, but that I would never do as an artist. For example, I'm not a rapper. I would certainly not do heavy pop songs. So the evolution is that I try to put less things around my voice and it's guitars, and try to use very natural sound, but treat the sound in a certain way, put the sound into a pedal or an effect, and really change the nature of sound, but starting from existing sounds. And I'm really into these days sampling real sounds,
Oh, okay.
sounds of the outside, sounds of nature. And so, yes, the idea is less crowded sound
Okay.
and more open sound and very intimate. I try to find my, yes, to return to this intimacy and this first little spark, this first little word, the little voice inside of you. Sometimes when you are into producing, and I'm also working with other artists, so sometimes you want to try things and put a lot of producing and sounds, and but for my own music I want to drift away from that for now.
Yeah. And that's maybe becoming, do you think that's maybe becoming more confident or more comfortable with your songwriting, with your,
Exactly.
yeah, okay.
Definitely,
Mm-hmm.
because I learned a lot these last maybe 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
even 6 7 years. I think I really improved. So yeah, of course I'm not saying I'm the greatest, but I just mean from where I started, I really see that I improved, and it's I wish that everybody could have the same feeling. It's really nice. And yeah, and so now I feel really confident with my songwriting, so I don't want it to be buried under layers and layers of sounds.
Yeah. Tell us about the new single that you have and the new album that is on the way as well.
Yeah, yeah. The new album is going to be called La Ballade de Salvatore Lupo.
Salvatore Lupo in
Ne.
italiano, mi
Yes, yes, yes.
dispiace.
Because so it's also a song in the album, and it's a song about Sicily, and it's a song about the coexistence or cohabitation. Can I say this word? Life and death in the same space. Because I was on holidays in Sicily, and if I look at the sea, the opposite side was Lampedusa, where people were trying to reach Europe.
Yeah.
And actually, the spot I was in Sicily, there was a lot of people dead in away from the shore, but it was the sea I had in front of me was
Yeah.
full of dead people actually.
Mhm.
And you are in holidays having white wine, so
Yeah.
this is what I mean about the cohabitation between life and death, because this specific holidays was also the year that I was thinking in my head, okay, I think I'm ready to be a father. I want to have this kid with my partner, and then one night we had this talk with our host, and they told us, yes, last year we found some clothes on the shore, a jacket or something, and it was people that they drawn.
Yeah.
And so it's very strange to be in this situation. And so I tried to write a song about this, and so it will be on the next album. And I hope people will understand this very powerful clash between, and it's always like that in our lives. You're in a big city, I guess when you go outside you can see homeless people, and but you also have your own life and your own trajectory, but it doesn't mean that you don't see what happens. And the next song that I'm going to release is going to be a little bit more lighter. It's called L'amour est une langue étrangère,
Hmm.
and it's about, yeah, the more you ask for your way, and the more you get lost. And I think that it can be true in life, and it's also true in love. So it means that maybe you have to embrace the gift of love and the gift of life, and just be ready for the ride, and be ready to rock. If the boat is rocking a little too much, you have to be ready. But yeah, and so this song's talking about that, and it's talking about, okay, I'm a newcomer in France, just arrived. I'm from, I don't know, Bangladesh or Senegal, and I want to try to learn the language and try to learn the country, and I want to try to learn to love the country, and will the country accept me or not?
Yeah.
Question tag. So yeah.
I hope that people who are listening to the new album, to the singles that you have, I hope there'll be time for reflection and time for just understanding the way that you're posing these elements to
Cross fingers.
yeah. For our listeners of this conversation, will you please let us know where we can find you online, where we can listen to your music, and where we can
Yes.
support you?
So you can come and say hello to me on Instagram,
Mhm.
which is my main social media. So it's at Mike_Ibrahim. And otherwise, I'm also on Facebook, and I'm on Blue Sky also. And also on, of course, Spotify. I have my Spotify page, and if you want to support artists, you can click the plus button on Spotify to add them to your playlist or like their profile, because for the artist, Spotify is really the ultimate social media. It's even more important to have followers on Spotify than on Instagram, but if we can have both, it's better.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I will add links to all of those in the show notes for
Thank
this
you so much,
episode
Al.
because we want people to click and listen to your music right away.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to talk about your label, the label that you founded and some of the artists that you're working with?
Yes, I can say a quick word about it. It's called Le Marion Dufresne, éditeur, Le Marion Dufresne. It's a boat actually, Le Marion Dufresne.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just developing young artists and try to help them to bring their songs to the world. So there is this queer artist I'm working with. His name is Mantez, Mantez,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great. We make queer pop songs.
Cool.
You can dance to it, and but the lyrics also can be heavy or punchy, so you should check it out. And there is this other artist I'm working with. Her name is Lily Colette, but we didn't release yet a song, but she has an Instagram, so you can find her on Instagram. So we will release at the end of the summer songs for her. And I'm also working with Marie-José Ali, who is a singer from the Caribbean, from Martinique.
Mm-hmm.
She's really a legend in Martinique. She wrote great songs. She's a great songwriter, and I'm producing her next album right now these days. And yeah, that's it
Okay.
for now.
Looking
For the
forward to that. Looking forward to hearing more of these artists and
I must just, yes, also sorry, say a
it's okay.
word about Najwa Belaj,
Mm-hmm.
who is not signed on my label, but she's a dear friend, and she has Tunisian roots, but she was raised in France. She sings in English, in French, and in Arabic.
Oh wow.
And she's wonderful, great singer. So it's Najwa Belaj. Najwa, it's Najoi, and then Bel, and then Hadj.
Okay. I want to add her
Uh,
as well to
and
the
so
show
you
notes.
have to find her also because she's a great singer, great artist. I don't know, sensitivity, and she brings a whole world with her. I really love her music, and I helped her to produce our next album, which is called Wavering. So you definitely, guys, should check it out.
Check it out.
Check it out.
um, this has been such an amazing conversation,
Thank you so
and
much for having me.
I've had
I'm really honored and I feel grateful. Thank you so much.
I feel grateful. You've been one of my faves for a very, very long time. I really appreciate your time and this conversation. I like to end each episode with the same question, just to have a little bit of fun. Do you have any jokes? Now keep in mind jokes don't always translate, but this is the question. Do you have any jokes, popular sayings, tongue twisters, cool slang words, idioms, words of wisdom, or words of advice in French or in Martinique and Creole to share and to teach us? Or do you have a lyric in the song you've sung or written that resonates with you to share and to teach us?
Okay, wow. Yes, so I can give you a lyric from one of my songs that each time I sing this song, I don't sing it often, but each time it kind of put me in a strange I have thrills. It's so the it's two lines and it's la vie te fera payer d'avoir peur de la vivre.
Mm-hmm.
The song is called Serge était beau.
Mm-hmm.
Serge, it's a name. Serge was beautiful. Serge était beau.
Mm-hmm.
And so the words, the lines are la vie te fera payer,
Te f- mm,
fera payer,
fera, fera payer.
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
d'avoir peur de la vivre.
D'avoir peur de la vivre.
Yes.
Hmm.
And so it means life will make you pay
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you are afraid of living it.
Whoa.
But the way it sounds in French, I really like it. La vie te fera payer d'avoir peur de la vivre.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and it's a kind of coming of age song, and it's like an advice. Don't be afraid to live life.
I love that. Okay, so you wrote that. What was on your mind when you wrote that lyric?
I was thinking about my father actually,
Mm,
who died pretty young
I'm
in
sorry.
his early 40s,
Mm,
and he was a very, how can I put it? He was burning life from both sides, if you see what I mean.
yeah.
And when I'm a little bit too quiet and too, I'm not a party guy. I never want to go out. The only thing that really excite me it's writing songs and being in the studio, but I'm always a little, and sometimes so I have to say to myself, okay, sometimes you have to put down the guitars and the stuff and the computers and everything
Mm-hmm.
and live, share things with people. And
Yeah.
yeah. And so there is this saying
Uh-huh.
in Creole, which may be connected to the previous thing,
Mm.
is rien dit fausse pas bon.
Aïe, divorce, pas bon.
Rien dit fausse pas bon. Rien dit fausse pas bon. Which means it means anything that you will do while trying to force it or put too much strength in it, it's not good.
Mm, that's true.
Nothing good can come out from something where you are struggling or yeah.
Yeah, that is that's also a good one. There's those are
Yeah, I like
very
it.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing those.
My pleasure.
Uh Before I let you go, you've been having let's say that you've been having a conversation with someone for quite some time, about an hour and a half, and it's time to go your separate ways. Just the first thing that comes to mind, in Creole, in French, in Paris, how would we do this? What's the best way to say goodbye?
In Creole, I would say les nous joignent.
Les nouilles nous joignent.
Yes, which means I see you when I see you.
Oh, okay.
But it's really friendly. I mean, it depends on what you put it inside. But when I say to my friend, of course, it's nice. It's not harsh. I
Mm.
promise.
Okay.
And in French, if I no, in French, I would say c'était cool de se voir.
C'était cool de se voir.
Yes. If
Okay.
I if I see a friend that I didn't see for a long time and we spend an hour in a cafe, I would say, oh, c'était vraiment cool de se voir, c'était bien de se voir, ça m'a fait plaisir de te voir.
Yeah. Those sound like words I recognize. You know
You
what
got it?
happens? I get it. I got
Okay.
it. I got it. What happens is my brain just freezes up and I'm like, wait, I know these words. They sound familiar. I know them.
No, but ça m'a fait plaisir. Ça m'a fait plaisir.
Ça m'a
I wa-
fait plaisir.
yes, I was happy. It was a pleasure de te voir, to see you.
Ça m'a fait plaisir de te voir.
Exactement. Exactly.
Mike
Oh,
Ibrahim.
thank you.
Um, I had a blast.
Me too. Thank you so much. It was nice.
Thank you
I
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
New episodes of Speaking Tongues are available every Monday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to like and share episodes with other language lovers like yourselves.